Hey folks, Tim here at the Evil Home Recording Lab, and welcome to episode 3 of this month's Evil Audio project. If you haven't been following along, you can go back and look at the other 2 episodes, but essentially what we've done is take on a challenge that was presented by Graham Cochran over at the Recording Revolution, and that is to write, record, and publish one song by the end of the month. Now today is January 22nd, and we're way behind the curve, but it is Bass Guitar Day. Now I have this Fender Made in America 63 reissue precision bass, but as you can probably guess, I'm not going to use this bass. Instead, I'm going to use this bass. This is a Squier vintage modified 70s jazz bass, and this really is an awesome bass. I gig with this bass all the time, and it absolutely sounds fabulous. I paid about $370 for it back in '07, and you could pick one of these up right now from Musician's Friend or Guitar Center for $300. So if you're looking for a good value on a bass, I really recommend one of these. Okay. Now I also am not going to use a bass guitar amp. So what if you're a guitar player and you don't have a bass amp? What if you just borrowed a Squier bass from a friend and all you have is, say, a old Spider Line 6 combo amp? Are you limited to just using a direct in for your bass? Well, not necessarily. People have been recording bass guitar out of guitar amps for many, many years. The issue that you have to be aware of, though, it's not the amplifier that's a problem, it's the speaker, okay? So if you're using a guitar amp to record bass, just make sure that you're keeping your volume really low. And the way we're doing things today, that's not going to be an issue. So I'm planning to hook this direct, and that's where I want to hopefully get the fat low-end sound out of the bass. This bass does have a really terrific sound direct in, but I want to use the guitar amp to try to get a little bit of color in more of the high end. So let's take a look at how we're going to hook everything up. We're using this Livewire Solutions direct box, so the bass is going in to the input. Then line out is going directly to via XLR into line 1 of our audio interface. Then the other out is going into the amp, which, as you can see here, is in a closet. So we have our digital reference, cheap, inexpensive vocal mic positioned right there in front of the grill. And that signal is going to come back out via XLR cable, obviously, into input number 2. So let's go ahead and get started and record some bass tracks. Okay, I'm done recording the bass tracks. Let's take a look at what I did. Before I did anything else, I needed to zoom in on them and look and see whether or not they were in phase with each other. So if you take a look here, you can see that I got really lucky. They are in phase. Let's take a listen to the DI bass track by itself first. Not bad, sounds pretty good, pretty punchy. Let's listen to the bass amp track by itself next. That sounds really good. I'm really happy with that. It's amazing what a great sound you can get out of a guitar amp for a bass. So if you listen to both of those, one of the things that you're going to hear, there's like a crackling sound that came through, kind of like the way an old LP, for those of you that remember listening to records, what that sounds like. So I'm going to be attempting to get rid of that or try to tame it down a little bit. I think it's either there's a problem with the jack on the bass or the cord that was going from the bass to the DI box, because it came through on both tracks. So let's listen to what I did here with the EQ on the DI bass. So as you can see, I've got a high pass filter going to cut out most of the frequencies that I accented on the kick drum, and I'm in a little bit higher frequency, more towards the 100 hertz away from where the kick drum was at is where I accented it. And then there's a big drop off in the highs. And you don't really hear any difference at all. Those frequencies aren't really being used in the bass. So now let's listen to the track with the EQ move on the bass amp track. So again, you can see I'm accenting the same in the lows, but I've got a little bit up in the lower mids or higher mids, whatever you want to call that over there. And I'm also, again, I'm taking out all those high frequencies, trying to tame and get rid of those crackles, and there's a high pass filter. So both of them together sound like this. Pretty good. So I added some reverb to the raw drum kit track and added a drum bus. So let's go ahead and listen to what this bass track now sounds like with our drums, and you can see how we're building towards our song. Okay, not bad. So that concludes episode 3, recording bass guitar. Tune in. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to record at least the rhythm parts of acoustic and electric guitar. That's going to happen in 2 days. I have my guitarist coming in. So as always, please subscribe if you like what we're doing here, and have a great day.